Hey, good morning from Puerto Rico. I'm on a little couple mile walk to the gym, enjoying it, but while it is beautiful out, don't get the wrong idea. I don't go outside. I just stay in my office. I'm half joking, but welcome. If you're new here, my name is Hayden. I moved to Puerto Rico about 3 years ago, and here on this channel with over 300,000 subscribers, thank you, talk about all things business, a little bit of taxes, talk about my e-commerce company and real estate. In today's video, I want to talk about something that I haven't really addressed since I moved to Puerto Rico. When I first started talking about taking advantage of the tax program here and moving my life down here, I got met with a lot of negative backlash, just like everybody else who's ever talked about it. It gets met with about 50% positivity and 50% people who literally want to kill you. I get a lot of death threats. So it was something I just kind of pushed aside. I was like, okay, I'm going to keep helping the local animal shelter here and my two new homeless friends that I met about a year ago. And I'm just going to keep doing my thing here and I'm just not going to talk about it. However, it's been an amazing experience. Again, like I said, I've been here for 3 years now and I want to talk about it, both for people who are interested in moving there or want to understand the tax program, because I do not pay 0% in taxes. In fact, I pay a lot of money in taxes, but percentage-wise, it is significantly cheaper than I used to pay living in the United States. Now, Puerto Rico is not its own country. It is also not a state. It's what's called a territory. And if you look at it on a map, Puerto Rico is not off the coast of Galveston, Texas or some crap. I mean, it is far. It is down there. It is down south. You would not think that it's a part of the U.S. at all because it is further than many other countries. And so to get up there, it's a trek. You know, I mean, you can get to Miami in 2.5 hours, but anywhere in the U.S., I mean, it's relatively far and usually takes 2 flights to get to. Now, Puerto Rico created this program about 10 years ago, which has officially, as of last year, helped them get out of bankruptcy and kind of restructure their debt, which has been very beneficial. It's done well for the government and the island. It's brought a lot of new money and a lot of business here. That was the goal. And they continue to offer this incentive program. You get grandfathered in with, I believe, 15 years of guaranteed taxes unless they become a state. There's 2 main programs here that are now known as Act 60. That is Act 20 and Act 22, which you've probably heard of if you're watching this video. Act 20 is the program that I'm in where businesses, corporations can benefit from paying a 4% flat rate tax. Now, I'm going to get into it in a moment. There's a lot of caveats to this. There's still a lot of other expenses and taxes you pay, and there's a lot of restrictions. Act 22, which again, you combine those now, it's just called Act 60. You can still choose which one you want to be in or do both. Act 22 is where you famously hear the 0%. That's 0% capital gains. You are truly paying 0%. Now, again, a lot of fees inside of that one of the restrictions, you have to donate $10,000 a year. It used to be $5,000 to a Puerto Rican nonprofit. There's different restrictions. So for me on my business, I had to get rid of my US based employees. No W-2 employees, which means I just 1099 them. You can't have any US office space. I'd already gotten rid of that. We went digital before the pandemic, so that's fine. And there's some restrictions. You have to actually move your business here, not just the business. You have to move yourself and move your life here and become what is called a bona fide resident. This is where a lot of people have gone to jail and people have been accused of tax fraud for not understanding or for not following these guidelines. So let me explain what that means. A bona fide resident is someone whose primary home is insert location. You're a bona fide resident of that place. That means you spend the majority of your time there. Now, there's 2 different ways you can look at this. I travel frequently and I spent 3 months in California, but I spent no more than a month anywhere else. Well, that's probably my main home base if I consistently do that because I spent the most time there. However, in Puerto Rico, for the tax program and the restrictions according to it, you must spend 183 days here. Now, that is primarily looked at over the first 3 years. Now, I want to make it clear there's a lot of little caveats here. You have to live here for a minimum of 3 years to get the tax advantage. If you leave after the 2nd year, you're going to owe back taxes. So it's a 3-year minimum that you're committing to, and they're kind of looking at it as about 540 days over those 3 years. So I'll give you an example. A close friend of mine, he was here for 290 days or whatever, 300 days in year 2 that he lived here. So on the 3rd year, he decided he wanted to travel. You only have to be here a minimum of 60 days. As long as you're still meeting that overarching test of 540 days or so in the first 3 years, he took the time not to go back to the States. Can't do that. He was just traveling all around. And I think he'll spend a lot more than that. This is his 3rd year. He'll spend a lot more in 60 days here. He's probably already spent that. But it's like, you know, so you can still play with the numbers a little bit, but you have to be a bona fide resident, which means roughly 183 days or more here. The majority of your time, 6 months and a day. You can't can't just leave a wife and kids back at wherever you came from and like go back and forth. That's very clearly you're not living here. You're just spending time here. And there's a difference there. So a lot of people they keep everything they had, their same home, the cars, they're not moving any, they don't move any of their stuff down here. And there's ways to argue it, but you have to be able to prove, if you were to get audited, that this is my home. This is my primary residence, and time alone is typically not enough. So there has to be a little bit more, like again, if you have a wife and kids, they're coming down here. So there's a lot of caveats to it, but you definitely have to meet that 183 days. That's kind of the primary thing. And I've never had a problem doing that. I've always had that done by September or October if you want to like count the days, which I do make sure that I track those. It partially can become a weird feeling because if I want to leave tomorrow and go to Thailand for 3 months, I can't necessarily do that. And I actually dislike that feeling of not having the freedom, even though I probably wouldn't want to go to Thailand for 3 months. I've done it, but like, it's just one of those things where I really like the optionality. Like as you're watching this video, whenever it gets posted, I'll be in Europe. I'm in Europe for the summer. It gets hot here. It gets hot where I came from. It gets hot in the other tax haven I looked at, which is Dubai. So it's just a give and take. I do travel frequently. I also do maintain a vacation home that I don't spend a ton of time at. Now let's talk about the island, because there's a lot of crazy stories, from blowing out multiple tires in the potholes and the terrible roads throughout the island to my friends having a gun stuck in their face and then a woman right next to them getting shot about 60 seconds later. I mean, I've heard and seen some crazy stuff, and it's just it's a very unique angle of life. So let's talk about island life, living here, different things. There's so much beautiful stuff on this island. I'm not necessarily one for the beach. I'll enjoy like looking at it, but I'm not going in the water. I don't even think I've been in the water this year, and we're halfway through it. But it's just, I do still live on the beach. I enjoy doing it. I don't really go on walks on the beach. I see it. I'm like, yeah, I see you. What's up, buddy? Fist bump. And so for me, it's the vibe. I really, really enjoy certain parts of the island. Utuado, Arecibo, those are beautiful places that I frequent. I like going there. There's a lot of cool waterfalls here on the island. My favorite one so far is Charco Prieto. However, I saw a very big snake when I was going there. I'm not talking about like a snake. I'm talking about a snake. You know what I'm saying? And I was not messing with that. So I did not spend a ton of time there. Puerto Rico also has what's called these caimans. It's a caiman, and that's like a small alligator type crazy thing that is not in the salt water. It's in like any ponds around any waterfalls that are, I've never seen one, but apparently very dangerous, and usually not super large. But nonetheless, it's a beautiful island. There's a lot of fun stuff to do. There's a lot of pros, a lot of cons, so from living here, it's beautiful. The weather's great most of the year. It gets a little hot and humid in the summer, not a huge deal. There's so many great beaches. It's really windy, which is actually a nice breeze. As somebody myself who jumps out of airplanes a lot, that is not something that is a great thing, but whatever, not a huge deal. And so I've really enjoyed the island, getting integrated, doing activities, taking parts in groups, helping a lot of people, meeting some homeless people. There's actually some really cool people out here. And we've also built a great community of entrepreneurs, of different business owners. I've helped a lot of people move down here. I've just like recommended them, the services and companies that I used. I'm not affiliated in any way, but if anybody is considering moving down, I'm happy to recommend you the people that somebody had recommended to me. It definitely made the process a whole lot easier. Now, I'm always forward thinking. I'm always like planning. Look, I'm a very planning type person. Would I raise a family here? I'm 90% certain that answer is no. It's just not something that I would feel comfortable doing. It is a dangerous place. You can go into places like Palmas del Mar or Bahia Beach and the St. Regis Resort, or Dorado, the most famously known Dorado Beach area with the Ritz-Carlton Reserve. Beautiful area. I have a ton of friends that live over there. You're going to spend minimum to buy a home inside of there. It's going to start at about $8 million. If you want to rent a place, a little 2-bedroom condo, I have many friends renting them. Those start at about 20 grand a month, and they range up to about 55. So you're going to spend a significant amount of money over there, and it's still like an isolated bubble. There's a lot of cool stuff to do. Don't get me wrong. I don't live there, but I use the facilities frequently, and it's a beautiful place. I've considered going, but it's still so isolated. So from a family perspective, the charter schools over there aren't super great. It's probably not something that I would do long term, but again, there's a lot of people that do it, and it is a beautiful area. The island itself, I don't feel unsafe walking around. You can go get a firearm if that's what you're into when you're here. That process does take some time, and it is just very inefficient. Like most things here with the government, it's just not run efficiently. Now, I've also had a lot of problems working with businesses here in Puerto Rico. I try to give business to people and companies here. I try to keep the money in the economy. I know a lot of people say we're terrible people for coming here. I try to do that. Like, I have amazing attorneys and lawyers that I can still work with in the States. I've tried to hire people here, and I actually have one great law firm here that I do work with. They do all my real estate closings. I'm with them frequently. They're amazing people. But most businesses here, including the government, are run very inefficiently. Nobody shows up on time. Like it seems like nobody cares about their word. Like where I'm from, I mean, it's a handshake. I don't care about the contract. Like if you tell me something, like your word is everything. That handshake, like that just, it means a lot to me. And so when people don't follow up with that, that's very frustrating. I know a lot of people are frustrated with the company Luma, who handles all of the power and just the grid here. It's definitely not maintained correctly. There's a lot of really unfortunate stuff happening there. It's weird to see how Puerto Rico has structured a lot of things. It's not good. There's a lot of corruption happening here. There's mayors of different sections of the island. There's a lot of mayors here that just do terrible, terrible things. So it's really unfortunate to see like they sold the rights to the road to Auto Expresso, a private company, right? So a private company owns the roads. If I want to drive to my friend's house who lives about 40 minutes away, there and back, I pay $11.50 in tolls. Now I don't care about the money, but like that just pisses me off. It's like what? Why? Now I get it, they got to make some money, but that's a private company, right? They bought the rights to the roads because Puerto Rico was in such a bad place financially. They just had to sell something. So they sold the rights to their roads so that hopefully so that these people would maintain the roads and fix the roads, which they have not really done. So again, a lot of pros and cons. I don't want to talk down on the island at all because everywhere has pros and cons. Doing business here, I've had the first CPA I worked with steal money from me, just blatantly, very, very obvious. I don't know why he was like, at least try to hide it, buddy. I've never had a problem exporting my services here. So for, software-based businesses, coaches, consultants, online, anything, e-commerce, those companies have a pretty easy transition in terms of bringing their business here. I think the harder transition for most people is transitioning themselves here, right? Because no matter where you're moving from, even from Florida, I've had friends who moved from Florida and they came here and they weren't even in a big city in Florida. That's about as similar as you could get. And they just really hated it. They just couldn't do it, and they left after a few months. And so, it's a big transition. It's something that is definitely not for everybody, and that's why so many people leave, like right when they get here. I can count, it would take more than two hands to count the amount of people I know who have come here and left within a matter of months. Now, as promised, to talk about the tax side of things on top of what's the main flat rate I pay for the 4% of my business, my personal salary is taxed at a normal federal rate. Okay, so I pay about 25% on that. Now, I don't pay myself a ridiculous amount. You do have to pay yourself a minimum of $65,000 a year. Now, if you spend $100,000 a year on rent, you can't pay yourself $65,000 a year. I mean, you can, and people do, but again, in the event of an audit, how aggressive do you want to be? You want to make sure that like, okay, my salary can cover. Now, you could have a salary and argue I get a bonus for performance, but you can't pay yourself 65 grand and then take a massive, $300,000 distribution out of your company just to cover rent, like nothing else, So there's a give and take there where it has to be somewhat balanced. So again, I do pay, more tax than most just on my personal salary. Okay. Then my company pays 4% flat rate on our net profits, right? That's still a good bit of money. Not to mention if people want to get into the tax stuff, like, oh, he never pays tax. I pay more money in tax on just one of my many, many, many buildings in the States. I pay more money in taxes, property tax, than most people pay in a year. Okay. It's just like I pay a lot of money in taxes in many different ways. Payroll tax to employees, there's a lot of stuff. So yeah, the personal salary is run through there. And the cool part is you can take 0% distributions out of the business. That for me, that one sentence right there is the real, there's a lot of reasons I moved here, but like if that wasn't there, I wouldn't have moved to Puerto Rico. Because what that means, let's say my business makes $1 million in profit. Okay, 3 million revenue, 1 million profit. I'm going to pay $40,000 in taxes. There's going to be some additional fees. There's all these like BS compliance fees and things that CPAs are scamming you for. That, anyways, it's definitely like more than 4%, but it's 4% tax. Still under 10%. 4% that you're actually paying in the taxes plus some fees. I'm going to take a salary. Let's call it 100 grand. I'm going to pay 30 in taxes on that. So there's 70,000 in taxes. That's on average 7% if you want to call it that. And then I can take $400,000 distribution, send it to my personal bank account, and go buy real estate anywhere in the world, or go invest into a Vanguard fund or crypto, whatever you want to do. I can buy a car, buy a boat, so you can do all of that stuff, whatever it is you want, and take that out of your company at a 0% rate. And the reason that's important is because most corporations and stuff in the US, you have to leave the money in the business. If you take it out, it's taxed at the higher personal income rate. That is not the case here. And so that's why it's really important, because for me, a primary reason I moved here was to be able to purchase more real estate. Like, I love real estate. I love my investments. And for me, that's something I enjoy doing. If I have more money, I can do more of that. I can renovate our properties better. That's just something I wanted to do. So having moved here, I've been able to do a lot of that. Like, I don't keep any cash. Like, I never have cash, because for me, when I get a pile, I just deploy it somewhere. And if I don't have a property I'm buying, I can just put it with somebody else who's raising money to go buy a property. And that's something I do very frequently. Oh, and as we're filming this, I just got a text from Alberto, a photo of them out here playing golf. I met this guy on the golf course, him and his 5 friends. They're Puerto Ricans, or in their 50s or so. And every Thursday for like the last 25 years, these guys have played golf, like mostly in Puerto Rico, but like they'll go do a month in Scotland and play golf. So he just invited me over here. Too bad I'm going to be in Europe, but yeah, we're always playing golf, having fun. There's a lot of great people here.
Aquí tenemos unos muchachos. Allá, saludan a la cámara, Rubén and Hayden. Say hi. Ya terminamos el juego, nos fuimos. Todo bien.
And the overarching question, the big thing here, would I do it again? Absolutely. Absolutely. It was the logical decision at the time, and I don't regret it. It made sense, and that is exactly why I made the decision. I've also gotten, I want to add on to this one, the health benefits of coming here. I think I was just at a time in my life where I was going to focus in on that anyways, but having the isolation, especially as we were just slowly starting to build our network of friends here in community, there's a lot of time spent alone. There still is. And so health for me is something that's taken a huge, huge priority. And I definitely wasn't in perfect shape. I wasn't working out regularly. I wasn't eating great when I was, before I moved to Puerto Rico. And so for me, it's something that's taken a huge role in my life in terms of a priority, and gotten super healthy, gotten really in shape, and that's been something super enjoyable. It's also, Ponce de Leon, one of the guys who came here and explored Puerto Rico, was looking for the fountain of youth, is what it's called. So I don't know if you found it here, but like the sun and like where it's positioned here, it's just, you get a lot of healthy benefits here. And so it's really cool. I mean, you only need about 8 minutes a day in direct sunlight any time of year in Puerto Rico to get your average level of vitamin D for the day for most people. So there's different apps you can use for that. D-Minder is one of them that I use. But yeah, it's really cool. Definitely a beautiful place. If you are a business owner or someone looking to move down here, I have absolutely no incentive or affiliation with anybody to bring you here. But if it's something you're looking at, I totally understand. I am happy if you hit me up, go message me on Instagram or something to recommend you or refer you to like the companies that I used or something. So yeah. Hope all is well. Hope everything is going well in your life. If you enjoyed this video, give me a like down below, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.